From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay, our coverage continues from this year's National FFA Convention.
I'm really excited.
How excited though?
Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, I think about 100.
There are only 10 FFA chapters up for a major award here at Convention. We feature one of them ahead of the newscast.
Plus, how to pick the perfect spot on your farm to do a little precision conservation.
It works great.
It fit in there just perfectly.
Yeah.
And what's next for a possible Phase 1 trade deal with China now that the APEC Summit is canceled?
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado and the all-new Silverado HD, the strongest, most advanced family of Silverados ever.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Despite the APEC Summit being canceled later this month in Chile, President Trump says a plan to sign a Phase 1 trade agreement with China is still a go. President Trump tweeting Thursday, quote, China and the USA are working on selecting a new site for signing a Phase 1 of trade agreement, about 60% of total deal, after APEC in Chile was canceled due to unrelated circumstances. The new location will be announced soon. President Xi and President Trump will do signing, end quote. The two presidents were originally planning to sign the Phase 1 trade agreement at the APEC Summit, but Chile's president canceled it due to protest. Lead negotiators for both the U.S. and China are also scheduled to talk on the phone today. Reuters citing sources familiar with the issue say that the U.S. intended to host meetings between the two leaders in Alaska and Hawaii, while China has suggested Macau as a possible venue. And China is continuing to make some buys of American ag products. New weekly export sales are in, and they show that soybean sales last week were up 99% from the previous week, but down 39% from the prior 4-week average. China accounting for about half of all sales, buying 481,000 metric tons. It also bought some pork, 1,900 metric tons, and over 307,000 pieces of hides and skins. U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin says it will take time for Chinese purchases of U.S. agricultural goods to, quote, scale up to the $40 billion to $50 billion annual level touted by President Trump if the two sides can seal that Phase 1 trade agreement. Mnuchin saying in an interview with Reuters the target is a lot, but he says it is based on very specific discussions of product purchase commitments by China. China is still dealing with African swine fever, decimating its hog herd, but a new report says around a quarter of the world's pigs are now expected to die from it. The World Organization for Animal Health president saying a sharp reduction in the world's pig population would lead to possible food shortages along with higher pork prices. There's also concern it may cause shortfalls in many products made from pigs, such as the blood thinner heparin. The president calling the virus the biggest threat to the commercial raising of pigs we've ever seen. Firefighters continue to battle wildfires in California, where hotspots are a big issue. And unfortunately, those intense winds we've been telling you about are likely to continue. Now, it's reported they've sparked 10 new wildfires in 3 counties in the southern part of the state. Now, some people evacuated because of a fire in Los Angeles and the Kincaid fire in Northern California are being allowed back into the area. But the new fires are causing more evacuations, which are expected to continue at least through the weekend. A different story in the Midwest, where more snow and cold continues. Looking at Bettendorf, Iowa here, seeing yet another round of snow. The city already has about 3 inches of snow on the ground. Cedar Rapids seeing about 5 inches. But it's not just snow making things difficult for producers to get out in their fields. Meteorologist Mike Hoffman has more in today's Crop Comments. Mike.
Thanks, Clinton. Well, it's been a challenging harvest for many, to say the least. Look what Ladd Ginsburg is facing in Hector, Minnesota. This is in the south central part of the state. Ladd trying to combine the corn in one of his fields, and just look at all the water. That water almost up to the cab, so you know it's pretty deep. Man, that is amazing. We'll check out the drought monitor. Yes, there are some dry areas in the country coming up. I'll have more in your forecast as well in just a few minutes.
Happening right now, the National FFA Convention is kicking off another day in Indianapolis. Up to 70,000 FFA Blue Jackets are there supporting their chapters. Now, on the agenda today are some leadership conferences, finals for parliamentary procedure, and other competitions, and of course, a lot of fun. And we definitely caught all those positive vibes on display when we visited the convention on Wednesday.
This is like the biggest place I've been to. And like, I meet a lot of people. going to meet a lot of people.
And we have much more from this year's FFA convention. Coming up, we meet one of the top chapters in the country that has a new focus.
Up next, we're outdoors on the farm at Divin Family Farms up in northern Iowa.
Coverage of the FFA convention is brought to you by Culver's and Dry Shod Waterproof Footwear.
Archer Daniels Midland is reporting third quarter earnings of $407 million. Net income reported to be 72 cents per share. Now, earnings adjusted for one-time gains and costs were 77 cents per share. Results from the Chicago-based company exceeded Wall Street expectations. The agribusiness giant posted revenue of more than $16.5 billion in the period, also topping forecasts. Joining me now, I've got Jim McCormick, agmarket.net. Jim, let's talk about the slow pace of harvest and the fact that we've got snow, we've had rain. The latest crop progress report says we're about 20 points behind the 5-year average as far as pacing goes. What does that mean, and when are we going to know the size of this crop?
What it means is this crop's probably getting smaller. A lot of this cold weather, the crop wasn't at full maturity when we had the snow and cold. Historically, you can have anywhere from a 5 to 30% bushel loss on that. So that's part of it. Part of it is guys are just not going to be able to get it out of the field to the spring. You're going to have field losses. The deer are going to be loving that. They're going to have a buffet all winter long. And then just lastly, this crop looks like it's going to be a light test weight crop, and historically light test weight crop, it's just hard for the government to get a handle on. You tend to put 1,000 bushels in the bin and pull 900 out as it shrinks back. So what that tells us is a lot of people think we're going to know the final crop in January. My guess is it'll probably be more like July, and it might be like this year when we made that big hard adjustment on a quarterly grain stock here on the September 30th this year in 2019. Don't be shocked if we see some big adjustments in late July on the June 1 as well as the September 1.
Okay, but you're not expecting in this November report to see any kind of big adjustments by USDA?
Believe me, I love to see it. I think we could justify a 300 million bushel decline in production. I would guess they're not going to do that. My guess is they're going to take a very, very slow one step at a process. Demand is also a little bit weakening, so we're probably not going to look for a major shock report. Like I said, I think they could, but history says they're going to take it one step at a time.
So if I'm managing through this, what advice do you have for people to try to, they're in the throes of harvest and trying to decide what to do here?
Well, right now what I'd be doing is if your cash market's strong and your decision is pay storage or commercial storage or dump it, I'd recommend paying or not paying the commercial storage, move it. You can go out and buy options out a lot cheaper. The other thing is I'm really encouraging guys to keep an eye on 2020. I know it's hard to get tunnel vision. You tend to look at this year's crop when you're harvesting it, but the fact is these 2020 corn right now is trading around 405, 406. And our group thinks this is probably a good place to start getting bushels hedged. Excluding this last spring, 420 corn pretty much caught us for the last 5 years.
Yeah, right. Well, it has been an interesting year to say the least, and 2020 looks to be another one. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more Ag Day coming up in just a minute.
To contact Jim McCormick at Ag Market, call 844-4AG-MARKET or visit their website at www.agmarket.net. Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
Meteorologist Mike Hoffman here. And Mike, it's been cold and it seems like it's come on fast.
Yeah, it's an early blast of winter. We set an all-time October record yesterday for the country in Peter Sinks, Utah. It's a geographical location, minus 46.
Oh my gosh, in October.
That record includes Alaska. I mean, this is cold air, and everybody, western two-thirds of the country, has seen it. All right, well, let's get to the drought monitor. That's been a concern most of the season. Now, the latest drought monitor showing some of the worst areas, central and south Texas, and that's an area that's been getting slowly worse. So this entire growing season, basically. Western Texas has gotten better. Four Corner region, still very dry, as you can see. The southeast has been off and on. It's actually gotten better over the last couple of weeks. In fact, when you look back 4 weeks ago, there was a lot more orange and yellow, which are lesser amounts of drought across the country. But each week we've been seeing that area shrink with some of that tropical moisture coming up into the eastern half of the country. Still some areas obviously a concern, still a few spots in the southeast that are severe to even extreme drought, but really that area overall has gotten a little bit better. So here's the weather map. High pressure from the Ohio Valley to Texas, cold high pressure. cold front going to kind of stall out over central Florida. Storm system taking off to the northeast. That's the one that dumped all the snow over parts of the Midwest, all the way back to Denver and into the Great Lakes. Next system won't put down nearly as much, just scattered rain and snow showers with that. That will be diving into and through the Great Lakes as we head into the first half of the weekend. And a third system with another shot of cold air behind it will produce a few rain and snow showers as we head through the end of the day tomorrow. So temperature is going to be cold basically from coast to coast now. The cold air is just now getting to the eastern seaboard, and you can see low temperatures tonight. Look at that. I mean, it's 20s and 30s with a few teens thrown in pretty much coast to coast except for the Gulf Coast and the far southwest, and similar for high temperatures. These are in many cases way below normal for this time of the year. Precipitation, most of the storm's over. We're still going to add some mainly in eastern Canada, scattered through the northern tier of states as well. Snowfall, same idea. Most of this is already down, but you can see scattered light amounts, parts of the upper Mississippi Valley into the Great Lakes. And there's the jet stream. You can see a trough coming through as we head through the weekend. Another shot of cold air, another little piece of energy there early next week. Another one there middle of the week, kind of flatten out for a couple of days, and then another trough into the Great Lakes by Friday. More cold air, folks. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. Heading to Pendleton, Oregon, first of all, chilly, lots of sunshine, high of 46. Des Moines, Iowa, cloudy and cold, afternoon rain showers, high of just 42. And then Sunbury, Pennsylvania, partly sunny, windy and colder, high 49.
Still ahead, we continue the discussion on precision conservation and how to pick just the right place on your land. Next, Outdoors on the Farm.
Join Andrew McCrae for Farming the Countryside, a farmer-focused podcast that is all about production agriculture. Farming the Countryside is available wherever you listen to your favorite podcast and is brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, the world's largest provider of crop inputs and services.
I'm Justin Moore. Welcome to Outdoors on the Farm, brought to you by my friends at Roxor. From muddy trails to dusty work sites to hidden hunting spots, nothing gets you through it like a rugged Roxor. It's a side-by-side unlike any other.
Outdoors on the farm, where I was born, I was raised, and I'll do whatever it takes to stay. Outdoors on the farm.
Josh, here on your family's farm, you selected this area, but take me to somebody else's farm. Where do you start when you select an area for this for the precision conservation?
Yeah, great question. So I think you start with the data. I think it's exciting with how much is out there. So whether that's a yield map or an aerial photo, go to the red acres being your unproductive marginal acres. For us, it was this low-lying wetland. For somebody else, it might be a light sandy gravel hill. It could be somewhere along an acreage where the crop's getting shaded out. Surprisingly, not that many people do actually put the pencil to the paper, figure out what it costs you to try to raise a crop, and then of course link that to the yield data so you know what you're actually getting off that area. And because if you're not making money in an area, that's where you need to start thinking about alternatives.
What are the odds that a landowner out there with 500 acres of ground has got a spot that should be in conservation?
They actually have looked at this, and they say anywhere between like 3 and 15% of a crop field is unprofitable every single year. A lot of that's based on soil types or topography and different things, but the point being that every farm has an area that is unprofitable and could be profitable through another management system.
Now, if I take my conservation hunting hat off and put my economist hat back on, now you're talking my language here, Josh, because we're talking about making that piece of ground more profitable.
Yeah, we're talking dollars and cents.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That data allows you to understand where in a field you're making money and where you're not making money, and helps you make a more informed decision about how to make money on the whole field.
Once you've got that identified, where do you start? How do you get a project like this started?
Sure, I think, you know, for a lot of folks, I'd recommend going to their local USDA service center. So, I mean, if you're, you know, a grower and can bring in a yield map, that's tremendously valuable to help start to direct that conversation. You know, this is where I want to work on this for my farm, and then, you know, build out from there. For us, you know, we were able to do this within feet of our strip till pass, so it fit the farm. We didn't have to do, you know, a half
Right.
equipment pass along it,
Right.
and it works great.
It fit in there just perfectly.
Yep.
Very cool, Josh. Now, next time that you and I talk, after we get the project started, I want to talk about how Pheasants Forever can help you get this nice little piece of conservation heaven done on your farm. All right. From Scarville, Iowa, Diven Family Farms, I'm Chip Flory. This is Outdoors on the Farm.
Coming up, it's considered one of the best FFA chapters in the country, and it's not exactly in the heart of farm country. What makes this organization so different? Next.
Hey y'all, Justin Moore here. Get ready to kick up some dust with the Roxor Dirt Roads and a Country Show sweepstakes. Enter now for a chance to win a customized off-road Roxor and 2 VIP tickets to one of my upcoming concerts. Visit roxoroffroad.com/Justin Moore.
There are roughly 8,000 FFA chapters throughout the U.S. 10 of them are up for a major award at the convention going on right now in Indianapolis. National reporter Betsy Gibbon visited one of those chapters. Betsy.
Clinton, one of the most prized is the Model of Excellence Award. Only 10 high school chapters, the best of the best, are selected for this award. And one high school chapter, Hungry for the Gold, is located in Burlington, Illinois.
During those years, one more run through, another day of practice, and hours of routine for the Central Burlington FFA chapter in Burlington, Illinois.
Strengths and weaknesses.
Time put in multiple days a week after school to challenge the chapter.
So we started looking at what else can we do to keep things fresh, to keep things exciting, and keep pushing our chapter to kind of do bigger and better things.
That go big attitude has the chapter ranked in the top 5 for the state of Illinois. And through several rounds, it's now considered a top 10 chapter in the nation.
And so we were just happened to be fortunate enough to be one of the top 10 out of the over 8,000 chapters in the country.
Which means they can apply for the Model of Excellence Award, a competition on this stage. Hungry
The convention hall will come to order.
For more hardware, they're practicing for the big moment. The Central High School FFA chapter may be unique compared to others in the state. Rechartered back in 2009. It's on the cusp of farm country. Just a short drive to Chicago.
We have students from all sorts of backgrounds, and so there is still that old mentality that FFA stands for Future Farmers of America, and you got to be a farmer. Well, it's no longer sows, plows, and cows.
He says the chapter is focusing on leadership and development in their communities.
The youth, the future. And I'm getting a very
part of it includes opportunities to take ag classes, not just in the classroom.
On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Slide her down. Jaden, keep pressure on her deal there.
The school built and offers classes in animal science and for future vet assistants with the help of vet techs.
Okay, so if I were wanting to give an IV injection in this position, this hind leg is the leg that I would do it in.
And of course, real animals.
New puppy every day in class isn't all that bad.
The chapter is involved in lots of projects that grow leadership, build communities, and strengthen agriculture. They hosted Bags for Vets, a cornhole tournament showing support for veterans. Slow Down, Move Over, and Visualize, an event which promotes safe driving during harvest. AgDays, for elementary students to raise awareness about agriculture. They had a Pay It Forward leadership conference when FFA national officers visited their school.
And they basically gave one of their workshops, their leadership workshops, to some of our leaders that coaches and teachers had chosen already, and it made the already leaders grow more and impact the school in a very positive way.
Life is full of journeys, and each journey brings with it its own story.
As the presenters perfect their introductions and transitions, they strive to represent and lift up agriculture in their community and their chapter.
I feel like I'm very humbled to be a part of this chapter, and I'm very excited to see what happens with it in the future.
And perhaps, most importantly, seeing themselves on the big stage.
Even if you don't want to go into something specifically agriculturally related, there's still something for you to do in FFA, and there's so many different ways for you to grow in it.
Well, it turns out the chapter did not win the award, but the ag teachers and FFA leaders say they are proud of the students, win or lose. Reporting in Indianapolis, I'm Betsy Gibbon.
All right, thanks, Betsy, and that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day on Farm Country.